Okay, folks, we are back. You are with Coach Tony on Let Them Play this fine Super Bowl Sunday morning. Hey, during the break, guess what? Mima caved in and said I'm allowed to go to Somers 202 tonight. So my good buddy Joe Maz, if you're listening, man, keep the lobster tails and the filet mignon warm. And guys, I don't know if there's any more room, but you should call Somers 202. The special they got going on for the Super Bowl is outstanding. I think it's $49. All you can eat lobster tails and filet mignon, and I believe all you can drink beer and wine. And I'm telling you, 5 minutes into my trip, Joe Maz is losing money on this deal because I'm telling you, I can pack it away, and I plan on packing it away big time tonight. So go to Somers 202, check it out, give them a call. You can check them out on the web also. It's somers202.com. Before I get back to some more of the responses on the blog, I understand, let's go back to a couple more of the callers. I think we have John who is on the line. Hey, John, good morning. You're on Let Them Play.
Good morning, Coach Tony. How are you?
Okay, John, what do you got to say this morning?
I think, first of all, about the caller who called before, who took umbrage with some of your language.
Umbrage, another big word. Okay.
I know, umbrage. I know. But I take more umbrage when you start telling me how great a baseball player you are. But, and when you use the word hoot, going back to the story, I think it comes down to where, I always complain to my wife about, I call it the kumbaya theory. It's, we're all great, we're all the best, we all should just be, everybody should be recognized the same way, and no one's better than anybody else, and everybody should have the same amount of playing time, and everybody's feelings are going to get hurt. Guess what? There are some kids who are going to be better. There are some kids who are going to stand out. There are some kids who are going to get more playing time. And if you're in it to not try to hurt anybody's feelings, then guess what? That's impossible. It's going to come down to where go on a playground and put a game together and have everybody just run around with no rules and throw the balls in the air and say, oh, okay, nobody won because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I doubt that this reporter went into it trying to pump up one particular kid over anybody else. And I think it has to do with more of, there are more issues there lying than just thinking that this woman was promoting her own daughter or anything else. Seems like there's a lot more issues dealing with that team than just a reporter pumping up one kid.
Well, again, in all fairness to this coach Mary, out in Wyoming, she produces state championship teams and state championship gymnasts. And I'm going to reserve the right to get to some of this in a little bit. But your point about everyone gets a trophy, yeah, that's part of what's wrong. And an elitist sport, which by the way, gymnastics is not only an elitist sport, it is an individual sport. And guess what else? It's a very expensive sport.
Correct.
It is. I wasn't exactly in tears when my daughters decided they wanted to focus on their action sports and give up gymnastics because now they can probably go to college. But you kind of hit the nail on the head, and there are definitely other issues there, and a big part of that issue is, I'm sure, jealousy in and amongst the parents, because I'm telling you, if their kid was 9 years old and competing at level 6, they would not feel the same way. Hey, listen, John.
To me, too, is every parent, whether they like to or not, wants their kid to get some recognition somehow. Okay, I understand up to a certain age, but just like anything else in business and school and everything else, the kids who deserve it, who stand out, are going to get the recognition. And it's not always fair, because guess what? Life is not fair. The better kids are going to get the recognition. The kids who work harder are going to get the recognition.
But what's unfair about this? See, you're kind of nailing the point of the show. What's unfair about that?
Right.
If you're talking about a level 6 gymnast, it's just like a travel sport. If you sign up for an elite travel sport, there's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, it is expected and understood that the better kids get more playing time. Right. The better kids are going to get the recognition. If you can't deal with that as mommy or daddy, pull your kid out of the sport. In that same exact gymnastics school, I'm sure there are lower-level tumbling classes and cheerleading classes and all this other stuff that they can do. If you want to compete at that level, the issues that you're unfortunately faced with, these idiot moms who are complaining, you've signed up for that. And I'm sure, guess what? Part of the reason you signed up for that school is because this coach has had such a successful track record. You can't have it both ways, and as long as people are expecting to have it both ways, nothing is ever going to get accomplished. John, great call. I appreciate it, as always. I'm going to get back to some of the other disgusting reactions that came in to Ian St. Clair's story. Matter of fact, well, the short one, someone called It's Becoming Clear wrote, and we wonder why our youth sports leagues are all messed up. You people are amazing. Well, all I can say to It's Becoming Clear is amen. But you know what? Let's hope these idiots never change, otherwise I'm going to be out of a job. Another one came in from Happy to Be Alive, who wrote, well, the position that the writer takes and what he writes about demonstrates what all gymnasts go through on a regular basis. This sport is a tough sport. It requires dedication and nights and weekends of frustrations and triumphs. You could plug any girl into this article and represent what they have to go through. Congratulations, girls, on your first place awards as well. Well, Happy to Be Alive, that was pretty well said. By the way, what's with all these long names? I mean, what's wrong with you people in Wyoming? You know, here in New York, we get emails from Joe in Yonkers, and we get calls from Steve in Dobbs Ferry. In Wyoming, we get emails from people who call, feeling pretty good this morning because I got a decent night's sleep. What's wrong with you people? Well, anyway, as I mentioned, well said, but I don't think you realize that you're probably, because the last sentence, congratulations, girls, on your first place awards as well. That was a little, subtlety doesn't escape Coach Tony. That was a little bit of a cheap shot there. And I think in taking that, you've neutralized basically all the negative arguments that were posted about this article. You are right. Any girl could have been chosen for this piece. So let me ask you this. You're right. So why is it such a bad thing that he picked that particular girl? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Actually, you know what? I don't necessarily want to tell you what's wrong with it. I'm hoping somebody calls in and tells us all what's wrong with it, at least in the eyes of the parent. What is wrong? If you can answer that magic question, call me on the studio lines, and please let me know that I am not alone. What's the big deal about St. Clair using this little girl's name? 914-693-5700. Just call in and tell me why there's something wrong with this. Adam, if somebody specifically calls to answer that question, put them to the front of the queue. And you know what? We'll make you a charter member of Coach Tony's Mongo Nation. So again, I want you to tell me and the rest of our listeners why it was such a big deal that he used this little girl as a specific example. All right? We're going to get to that one hopefully before too long. Okay. But before we move on, I do want to get to another email that came in from one of our local boys. Teddy Ballgame from Rye wrote in and said, hey, Coach Tony, in every sport, there are parents who insist that their kid deserves something, whether it's playing time or a chance to play a certain position or any of a number of concessions that do only one thing, and that is favor their own kid. The only thing that any kid deserves from sports is an opportunity to do their best, to grow, and to learn and hopefully enjoy the process. There are rules in place in every single league that outlines exactly what each player deserves. Anything that's not covered in those rules are just open to interpretation by the coach, and whenever that happens, there are parents who want to cry foul. Teddy, that's great. And I could not have said it better myself, and that's why this week's show is really about just that. Your kids, and I don't mean to sound cruel, your kids don't deserve anything more than what's outlined. No kid in that gym deserved to be in the article, not even the one that Ian decided to write about. She didn't deserve a thing. The reporter saw something compelling, and in his own words, something that made for a good story, and decided to write the piece about something different than what he originally thought he was going to write about. I'm going to get to one more of these emails before we have to get to another break. Kay wrote in and said, actually, she didn't write. This is a response on the blog and to the article. Good job to those who won individual state titles. Starts off sounding good. What's the next word going to be, Adam? But. But so many have worked hard and also deserve recognition. There's that word deserve again. It takes all the girls to win a team state title. I don't believe most of the parents expect their girls to go to the Olympics. Bull crap. Oh no, Larry's calling in again. All right, I know many of these girls do leave the gym in tears. The coach puts a lot of pressure on them, and she also puts tremendous pressure on her daughter, who is in tears a lot of times. Also heard, here's what I love, when they talk about what they hear, this is when things get crazy. Also heard that the coach/mother is one of the judges at competitions and judged her own daughter at state. While it is allowable, it is not ethical. All right. Kay, first of all, I want to thank you for at least just using your name and not, telling us what you had for breakfast when you're describing your name. But I got to tell you, reading these posts, it's getting to the point where reading what these moms said is like reading a transcript of The View on a day when all the women on that show are sharing, let's call it the same bad week during the period of that month. Why can't these cackling, jealous, and annoying women just accept the fact that this reporter was expecting to do a story about this team that won states, and when he got to the gym, saw something compelling that made him change his story? As in Ian's own words, reporters and journalists do this all the time. There are so many times I expect to do a show based on something that happened on Monday or Tuesday, but then on Thursday and Friday, I get some interesting news that makes me change the storyline. I've even bumped guests off the show. The real issue here is that an innocent little 9-year-old girl got some recognition based on her accomplishments at a young age, and this group of... I almost said it. I almost said the R word. All right. This group of, let's call them mongettes, they're all annoyed because their daughters didn't get the spotlight. They're not upset because this little 9-year-old girl got the spotlight. They're upset because their little precious princesses did not. However, they certainly did not disappoint. They went out of their way to rip into a 9-year-old girl who did nothing but do her job. And if you read the article, I hope you are as impressed as I was with this little girl's attitude. She seems like quite an extraordinary kid, and I think she deserves all the accolades that she has gotten. And by the way, the coach deserves them as well. A couple more good emails to go through here, but we are certainly going to have to go to a break. And by the way, before we go, I want to remind you guys, some of you, between your blogs and your emails, have come up with some very interesting topics for the show. And I want you to know I do appreciate it. So if you think there's something we need to cover on the show, like an outstanding local team or a local story that needs a little attention, go to the blog. It's www.heycoachtony.com and click Contact Us or email me directly at heycoachtony@gmail.com and let me know what you think. In fact, next week, I got a topic that I'm going to use. Next week, we're going to be talking about the pluses and minuses of kids who play up. That being talented kids that are, at a certain age group who just aren't challenged enough, and their parents bring them up to the next age level to get better competition. And that's a hot one. And we haven't solved that one yet, so I hope you'll have some good opinions and stories for us next week. But stick around, folks. We'll be right back after the break.
Listen, if you're considering buying hardwood flooring, don't do anything until you've written down this number and received your free Lumber Liquidators catalog.
Almost said it.
With an unbeatable price tag.
Call in the next 10 minutes to get your free catalog.
What I bought in Lumber Liquidators is a vastly higher quality.
I'm not even going to get in trouble for saying freaking. Like I said, I had to say, guy's 86. That's why I had to say it, 86. And that's why I was nice to him. I didn't want to give him a heart attack on the phone.
Call right now to get their flooring